Hi folks, Amy here. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about the classical argument structure that you'll be using to write your argumentative essays for English 121. You've probably written a lot of 5-paragraph essays in your life, but have you ever stopped to wonder who makes the rules for this type of writing in the first place? We call these kinds of arguments classical because they are patterned after the persuasive speeches of ancient Greek and Roman orators. You see, back in the day, in ancient Greece and Rome, philosophers like Aristotle, Plato, Socrates used to sit around in what was called the Senate and try to convince one another of various arguments. Those arguments always contained certain components that they would use to persuade one another, particularly introductions, body points to support the overall argument, treatment of various opposing points of view, and a conclusion to sum everything up. For your introduction, you're really never going to want to sit down and start writing an essay just from the first sentence to the last. However, it does help to start with an overall thesis statement that can present your reader with a map of the points that are going to be developed in support of the overall main argument. In your introduction, you want to first grab the reader's attention with some kind of hook or attention getter. Then you'll present your thesis, which includes your overall argument or central claim and a forecast of the main contents of the body of the essay. This is also known as an overview of the main points that are going to be developed in the body paragraphs to come. In those body paragraphs, I like to use what I call the hamburger method. Basically, you start with a topic sentence, and that's like your top bun. It's going to present one of the points that you'll be using to support your overall position or central claim, which should have been forecasted earlier in the thesis, which appeared in the intro. Be sure that your body paragraphs always discuss your points in the same order as they appeared in your thesis at the beginning of the essay. Then, in the middle of the paragraph, you're going to present all this good stuff that you see here, like the cheese and the onions and the sauce. You're going to tie each point to particular pieces of evidence or factual examples that prove the point or at least support it enough to persuade your reader that whatever you're arguing for is actually the case. You also want to make sure that you tie each reason or point to the values of your audience. So for example, if you have someone who doesn't like cheese, you wouldn't want to put cheese on your hamburger, right? So you want to make sure that you only pick particular evidence to support points that your audience is going to be sympathetic toward. And then you wrap it up really nicely with this bottom bun, which is just a condensed version of your topic sentence. It basically restates the point over again to wrap things up. Now, here's when we really get to move beyond the 5-paragraph essay that you're probably used to from high school. In a classic argument structure, you always want to include an in-depth treatment of opposing views. You're not just presenting your argument, but you're also taking into account the alternative arguments that someone might present who doesn't agree with you. You're trying to win those people over to your side, so you want to make sure that you address those alternative points of view. When addressing them, make sure that you are fair and thorough and don't oversimplify them. Make sure that you give them due consideration in terms of how much depth you're using to convey them, and then show weaknesses in those points of view or basically why you don't believe them to be the case, even when you have to concede to some possible strengths of those opposing views. Not everything is black and white like you see here. Sometimes there are good things and bad things about the alternative point of view, and you want to be fair to the good things while also emphasizing the bad so that you can win your audience over to your side. So after you've developed your body paragraphs, it's time for your conclusion. This is really where you sum up the argument, restate your thesis, and leave a strong, lasting impression that relates to the topic to a larger context of issues. These are just the basic parts of classical argument structure that we are used to from our ancient Greek and Roman friends. Use this as you write your argumentative essays for English 121.